I'd like to welcome all of you to the RV Basketball Schaffer Era Reunion. For those of you that don't know, my name is Mark Banke. I'm the guy who was crazy enough 2.5 years ago to start a film process which will end, in some respects, tomorrow at the Mendel Center. But tonight is not about that. Tonight is about bringing all of you back together again, which, to be totally honest with you, is absolutely part of the story. Before I get going, if you were a former educator at River Valley, would you please raise your hand? Let's hear it for them, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people will talk about Mustang Magic and confine it solely to the basketball program, but being an educator myself today, the true magic in that building was the fact that there wasn't a kid that went through it that did not identify with one of the staff members. And so for that, I'm eternally thankful to all of you that could be here tonight. Tonight, we have a speaking program to honor Coach Jerry Schaffer, probably the most humble man I know. And over the last 2 years, I've sort of been given 2 more years of eligibility because I've spent a lot of time with EMI Shafes and asking really weird questions that he probably thought, I don't know why that really matters. And tomorrow night we will find out. Tonight we have Fred Lane is going to MC a class of '81. We also have on the dais John Avery, who will be playing Steve Hennigan one-on-one down at that basket later tonight. Bill Corbel, Scott Masters, or as we used to call him, River Valley Spike Albrecht. Coach Tom Briggs, who not only played for Coach, but coached against him as well. Eric Wharton, who is a class of '97 member and is absolutely crucial to part of the story I will tell tomorrow night on film. Also, Gary Lang has been a great confidant for me through this process and a great River Valley fan, counselor, administrator, and I'm glad he could be here. And Brett Williams, who is a class of '90 member, and he is from Chicago, Illinois now. His father was the superintendent, and they all have been willing to share their thoughts. So without further ado, good old number 40, Freddie Lang.
You know, I worked a lot with him, and I've really gotten to know him really well. We've worked really close the last 2 months. I mean, we've really gotten close. Thank you, man. I would like to welcome all of you. Wow, it's a bigger turnout than what I anticipated. Welcome to the 32-year anniversary of the 1981 Class C State Championship runner-up River Valley Mustang boys basketball team. There are actually people here that I didn't think would show up for this. I didn't even think you knew about it. But that 81 team, wow, they were something else. This is too much. Okay, but seriously, folks, welcome to the first half of a monster-filled basketball weekend, starting off with a celebration of Hall of Fame coach Jerry Schaffer. We'll talk about his great career, the teams, the fans, the players, the games, and yes, some of the stories. Some of the stories you may never have heard. Some of the stories may not be true. They may be stretched a little. But all in all, the history of a time when our towns and villages would empty, the bleachers would fill. Oh my. Yeah. With neighbors, friends, parents, classmates, and basketball enthusiasts from all over the area, all hoping to capture another magical night of high school basketball led by 524 wins, 10 conference championships, 13 district championships, 7 regional championships, and 4 Final Four appearances, including 2 state runner-ups, and of course the 1979 state championship victory against Elton Pigeon Bayport at Chrysler Arena. And we, River Valley, we were so unusual, special, different than anybody else or anywhere else. We played a different kind of basketball than anybody else in the state of Michigan or the neighboring states. And why was that? Why was that? Because our leader was somebody who possessed the qualities, the discipline, the dedication, and the tools to guide, teach, and train young high school players how to play the game the way he thought it should be played. We were competitive and fundamentally sound. And that's not all. We were all dedicated with good attitudes, good grades, because we knew what was expected of us. You couldn't miss practice, you couldn't come in late, because if you did, you knew not only were you letting your teammates down, but you're letting down Coach Schaffer and your school community. And believe you me, nobody wanted that on their resume. Word travels. But it wasn't just about learning the game. No, not at all. It wasn't just that. It was a huge part of growing up and learning how to act, how to treat people, how to be a good role model and a good citizen, which really is more important than anything. Tonight I see an incredible group of great players, great friends, great fans, great coaches, and all kinds of people I haven't seen in a long time. Before I even knew what basketball was, back in 1967 was the first year that River Valley School began. It was a consolidated school, and Jerry Schaffer was the head basketball coach. That very first year, with Rex Miller, Bill Corbel, Don Breck, Denny Streffling, and Dick Knapp, the Mustangs won the district championship and then lost to South Haven in the regional finals. South Haven that year had a player whose name was Kennedy McIntosh, who played for the Chicago Bulls a few years later. And another player on that team named Don Moorhead, who quarterbacked at the University of Michigan for the next 4 years. Some pretty incredible athletes. But that year, 1967, kind of set the stage of what River Valley basketball is all about. I remember seeing Mike White and Kevin O'Connell, the best tandem guards to ever play the backcourt for River Valley. Of course, that's from the perspective of a 10-year-old. But I loved watching those guys play, and I remember how they hustled and played so hard. We've had great guards since then. Steve Hennigan's elbows are here tonight. I used to be real close with them. I haven't seen him in a while, but that's okay. Steve's head coach at Lake Superior State, Division II up in Sault Ste. Marie. He's doing a great job up there. His team was on ESPN a couple weeks ago. He loves to talk about it, just ask him about it. I was thinking yesterday, too, how the announcers at the away games for the state championship membership team used to pronounce some of the names. Of course, Zebel was Zebel and Schaffer was Schaffer, but Steve Koth was Steve Koth. Mike Petrick was Mike Petrick. And of course, Brad Pongelic was Brad Ponagalic. But you know what? By the end of the year, everybody in the area, anywhere near Southwest Michigan, knew how to pronounce some names. I see Jason Heckathorn and Billy Corbel. Jason and Billy are here tonight from the 1987-88 team, wonderful team. They coached the 5th grade boys in basketball this past season. Did a great job stressing fundamentals, teaching the kids the strengths that they each had when they were playing for Coach Schaffer. Jason taught the kids how to shoot that nice little 12-foot jumper. Billy taught them how to knock somebody on their ass. And I got to mention the Schaffer boys. I played many years with all of them. Gary, Greg, David, and Dougie. I always called him Dougie, because when we first started playing, he was out there with the ball, always. And I still call him Dougie. Hi, Dougie. When we would play pickup games out at the high school in the gym, during off-season or even after we graduated, things could get pretty intense and competitive out there. I mean, that was the nature, man. It got feisty. Believe it or not, I once saw one of the Schaffer boys get so mad at themselves that they yelled something out at the top of their lungs, and then they threw the ball against the wall out of frustration. Yes, one of the Schaffer boys. But I'm not going to tell you which one it was, because I don't want Greg to get mad at me. And Mrs. Schaffer. Mrs. Schaffer is here tonight. What a treat. What a trooper. What a great lady. To think about what that house must have been like, especially during basketball season. The long hours, the videotapes, everything that she went through. Mrs. Schaffer, this is a celebration. A celebration. And you're a big part of this. But if I see you in the hallway with about 3 minutes left, I'm not going to be very happy. I mean it. Tonight we're going to hear some great stories from some great friends. We also have some remarks sent in by members of the Mustang family who couldn't be here tonight but wish they could have. Brother Gary will be reading those throughout the program. Our first speaker tonight, his father was one of the heads of the three-headed monster. The three Mustang supporters I happen to be talking about at this point were Ross Mackey, Louis Prismalinski, and John Avery. Rumor has it that referee Ken Nightingale changed his phone number and had it unlisted after he finished reffing a close game at River Valley because of those guys. Hell, they said he dyed his hair right after the game. Anyway, from the class of 1989, would you please welcome John Avery.
Wow. Before I start, let me say, as a kid, Freddie Lang saw dry play, trying to practice the shovel shot from Freddie. And unfortunately, they hadn't gotten the adjustable rims yet, so I couldn't really do much for Drew. But what great memories. And as I look and see everyone, it's a little off script too, sorry. But three of the biggest influences in my life are here tonight. The two Jerrys, Hall of Fame Schaffer and Hinman, Hall of Fame coaches at our school. Guys that taught life lessons that far exceeded the greatness that they had on the court and on the baseball field. And made a profound influence in my life. And of course, my dad. I can't tell you how lucky I am to have a father like him. I've been blessed with 3 boys, and if I can be half the father that he's been to me, Pops, you got some lucky grandkids. I really appreciate it. My dad was so impressed with Coach Schaffer that he moved us to Sawyer, Minnie Grove, from New Buffalo when I was in 4th grade. I'm so thankful we moved to Minute Grove, just a mile from the Schaffers. Who knew it was that move that would be the start of Louis, Ross, and my dad as they practiced their constructive criticism of officials at the Little League field in 3 Oaks before moving on to the high school just a few short years later. The move to River Valley has given me a lifetime of memories, a couple of which I'm going to share with you now. Before I do, though, I'd like to thank Banky for putting this all together. It's great to see so many familiar faces and take a trip down memory lane. It's also forced me to drop a few pounds. You see, back in 1988, Coach Schaffer used the word lard to describe one of the players on that team. And I didn't want to think it was me. And speaking of Henica, he plays a part in a couple of these stories I'm going to share. The first gives a glimpse of Coach Schaffer's brilliance as a coach, not just on game day or during practice, but how he could look years down the road, and that's a sign of a great coach. Let me explain. As I mentioned, I lived just a mile down the road from Coach Schaffer, and they had this big blue tank of a vehicle. This thing's bigger than most SUVs today. Plenty of room for additional passengers. Back in the day, before global warming, climate change, we had some real cold winters here in Michigan. I'd be freezing out at the bus stop, and I'd hear Big Blue coming up around the corner, slowly rumbling, so slow that I could see Coach Schaffer and Doug inside, tank tops on, windows cracked, Doug wiping sweat from his brow. No wonder he couldn't put any weight on. Apparently Big Blue was a song on wheels. Though I couldn't be sure because as it approached me, it sped up and flew by. Day after day after day. The wind chill from Big Blue just adding to my discomfort. I was ticked off for a couple winters until I could drive myself, and then practice started. And I had to start guarding heading up. And it suddenly dawned on me that it was part of Coach Schaffer's master plan. See, he knew he was going to need some players with a certain toughness to go against Heading every day in practice. So I'm sure all those days blowing by me in Big Blue, day in and day out, were nothing more than toughness tests to prepare me to go against Heading every day in practice. Right, Coach? wrestling moves on the balcony in the cage. I had a genuine concern and in no way thought it might get me another start or two. Hennigan was a tenacious rebounder. Folks would often ask me what it was like to battle Hennigan for a rebound. And I have two examples that still allow you to experience that today. First, invite Hennigan to Roma and offer to share a pizza with him. Pretend each piece is a rebound and see how many you get. If you're still standing by the last piece, count yourself lucky. And the second opportunity involves Coach Schaffer. I was fortunate to spend a lot of time with Coach Schaffer and at Doug at their house, hanging out with Doug in high school. And every time I went there, they always seem to have these big boxes of James potato chips. I gotta tell you, Pa Shakes would attack that box of chips with the tenacity of Price guarding Chris Yates. So, in case anyone cares to try, I brought a couple boxes for Coach, so you can try and get a few from him. Coach, thank you for everything. It's been such a blessing. I'm the luckiest guy in the world, and as are all of us, to have been touched by you. Thanks again.
Thank you, John. Our next speaker graduated in 1969, taught in the River Valley School District, and had a key to the gym that turned many of us youngsters into gym rats. He coached at Lake Michigan Catholic for several years and now lives in Grandville, Michigan. When he was here, he was an intricate part of the whole system. I'm so glad he's here tonight. Please welcome Tom Briggs.
So good to see a lot of you that I haven't seen in many, many years, and it's so nice to be here. Everyone has a story of how Coach Schaffer influenced their lives, and the influence on me and my life has been remarkable. He's responsible for changing my life, and it's led to a 40-year career in coaching, teaching, and administration. Everything I am and everything I have, I owe to one man, and that's Jerry Schaffer. We've had a unique relationship, I believe. He was my teacher, my coach, my employer when I babysat his 4 little boys. He was my father figure when my father passed away when I was 15. He was my mentor. When I came back to River Valley, we coached football together. We even had a short, unsuccessful career in umpiring. I then came back and coached freshman basketball for him, where I coached 2 young men named Gary and Greg Schaffer, which was very enjoyable. I coached with Jerry as a varsity assistant. I coached with Jerry in the first East-West All-Star game. That was very interesting. Then he was responsible for getting me a job in another school, and that led to us coaching against each other, which was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it was 2 classic tournament games that we played against each other. It was hard to do, but it was memorable. But most importantly, he's been my lifelong friend. And what did I learn about Jerry in all those years? Simply that he's the most extraordinary man that I've ever met. Words that describe him are kind, gentle, caring, compassionate, genuine, fair, honest, and humble. I wish I was describing one of those things. I would be happy if somebody described me. He's all of us. And for me, it's never been about what a great coach Jerry was. It's what kind of man he is. It's about the influence he had on his players and what he taught them. He taught them, as you said, he taught them life lessons. He taught us discipline. He's taught us loyalty, resilience, pride, persistence, and patience. He taught attention to detail. When I left here, everybody wanted to know about Jerry. Tell me about his offense. And why are they so well? It was attention to detail. I don't care what offense you were running. We'd run the pattern or scramble. We'd run it 1,000 times. And then he would say, let's run it one more time. And you think, oh my God, and one more time. And you'd run it. And he'd go, great job, let's run it one more time. And that was the master. He just knew that it took perfection. And that's what he did. And I think the biggest thing, he taught us no opponent was too strong if you sacrificed for the sake of the team. And people always ask, how could Jerry's teams be teams that were faster, stronger, more talented? And what made him such a good coach? I always felt it was his ability to get players to play their role and be proud of that role. And getting the rest of the team to understand the importance of that, and that led to the success of the team. You might have been the ball handler, or the assist man, or the rebounder, or you could have been the defensive specialist, the scorer. You might have been the guy that just took the charge all the time. Heck, you might have been the guy that Jerry just kind of said, maybe it's a good idea you don't shoot very much. But he had a role. He maybe was the enforcer, or he set great screens, or maybe you just sat the bench. But he made you feel as much of the team as anybody on the team. And that's what made the difference. He made us understand and be proud of our roles. That was the secret to success. And he taught all those roles put together could defeat much more talented and individually talented teams. Jerry taught us many things about life by just watching him. He taught us how to be a great father, a great husband, and he taught us about what family really was. He taught us, the most of all, Jerry taught us valuable lessons. He built character in us, and he taught us to be men. And as I look around here tonight, I feel that we have so much in common. But the most important thing we have in common is that we were blessed and honored to have Jerry Schaffer in our lives. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Sharing a couple of letters sent in from members of the Mustang family is my brother Gary.
I brought a prop. Remember those?
Jason Honeycutt graduated from River Valley in 1994 and works in the film and television industry directing and editing. He lives with his wife and children in Los Angeles, California. These words are from Jason. Coach Schaffer, I apologize and I'm truly sad for not being there. This is the only weekend I couldn't have flown in, as it is my youngest daughter's second birthday. I am fortunate to work in Los Angeles in the film and television industry, directing and editing. If it was not for RV basketball and the decades spent with you in my formative years, from a child to a young adult, I literally would not be where I am today. What I learned through RV basketball transcended X's and O's. As a kid on those Saturday mornings, I learned to not just dream, I learned how to go after the dream. The dream of making it in Hollywood seemed crazy as a kid in our small farm town, but so did making the varsity and playing for the legendary Coach Schaffer. Yes, Coach, you are and always will be legendary to us. The team on which Mark did this documentary was the closest thing we had to celebrities at the time. As a kid, we all noticed how your team would carry themselves in public and at summer camps. Always polite, always humble, but quietly confident, like their coach. We too wanted to someday become a varsity player and wear the navy and white. I still remember the day he put out those practice jerseys for us. I had made the team. I wasn't the perfect player. The games I got into, I wanted so hard to prove myself to you that I sometimes put myself before the team, which I learned quickly to change. There is one example of this which was terrifying at the time, but funny in retrospect. I still remember when I got in towards the end of the game, the lead safely in hand, and I got the ball at the top of the key. And I personally remember this. I gunned the three, made it, and while jogging down the court, I heard four things. Timeout, the stomping of a foot, honeycut, bench. It wasn't the time for a three. It was time to run the clock out and not show up a defeated team. That wasn't RV basketball. These days when I'm directing on a set or editing in a highly charged room, I know how to do what's needed for the team, not for my ego. I know how to lead my team to the common goal without a thought of failing, no matter how impossible the odds. Like RV basketball, when you can make everyone around you better, it makes yourself better as well. And you all win together. RV basketball taught me how to be a leader. Thank you for what you've given me and everyone in this room. You mean more to us all than you know, more than words will ever describe. Sincerely, Jason Honeycutt, RV Class of '94. The second letter I have to read is from Matt Benke, who graduated from River Valley in '93. He and his wife Kelly live in Tallahassee, Florida, where Matt is the CFO of the Seminole Boosters at Florida State University. Matt was not going to be here tonight, so I was going to read that, but he surprised his family and his brother, his mom, dad, and his brother. He is here, so he will read this. Matt, thank you.
Kind of unusual to see Gary Lang and not hear it live from the Garden. For those of you that played these open gyms, you'll understand what those meant. And Steve Hennig, I'm sorry, I told you I was going to censor Avery and I just couldn't do it. You're going to hear a lot of different things, and I kind of went a little different way, and so this will be fairly brief. It was a great honor to be provided an opportunity to tell you what Coach Schaffer means to me. My first recollection of Coach is attending the famous Saturday morning clinics as a member of Billy Corbell's Warrior Squad. A different story for a different day. He was a larger-than-life character to the children within this school district. He may or may not have realized it at the time, but much like the golfers you see at Augusta National this week who pretended as children to win that tournament, we all pretended to represent the community on the hardwood, playing for Coach, playing for each other. And when that day came, it was a flash in time that built lifelong memories and friends. It kind of, look around all the players who were here, whether they played before, I did, or after, but we all played together. When you went out, we didn't have names on the back of the jersey, so I think it's one of the worst things I've done in sports because it's, in this school district, it was all about the name that was on the front. And, when we'd come to practice in the morning, 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock on a Saturday, and you saw the likes of Dave Schaffer and Gary Lang and Jerry Hinman walk in, amongst others, you better have had your shoes tied up pretty tight or you're going to get embarrassed. And I had one year of being embarrassed, or we all did, and the second year we didn't get embarrassed that much. So I recall as a player here in Coach talk of hard work and sacrifice, he'd often tell us to, quote, soak it up as we enjoyed success. As an adult, these principles are some of those that I try to employ each day in my career and in my life. The lessons he sought to teach us were not basketball lessons, although that was the venue in which he used to communicate. They were intended for us all to use and apply, and that's what I think Coach represents, a man who sought to make this world better and more selfless by giving the lessons to hundreds of student athletes at River Valley. I've had experiences with two quote-unquote legends, one here in Southwest Michigan and one in Florida. And I think what clearly separates Coach Schaffer, in my experience, is that he didn't seek the credit or attention. It wasn't Jerry Schaffer and the Mustangs, it was the River Valley Mustangs. One team, one school community. I think Coach would say he was a part of something larger and more profound, a community who supported his school. A legend to me, an educator, coach, father, husband, and friend to us all. I represent the class of 1993 by saying thank you, Coach, and Mrs. Schaffer. You mean so much to all of us because your lessons made us better each and every day. As I sat here and listened, that's what I had written. As I sat here and listened, one other thing came to mind is I used to love as a kid growing up, and when Coach had decided that we had enough points on the board, and he put the 4 fingers in the air, and we went to our 3 corners, and the 4-corner offense came in. I've had many arguments in the South. A lot of people think that started with Dean Smith. Nah, it started here. But I used to love because River Valley fans, they'd come on their feet, and the more we passed that ball, the more they couldn't get it, and the more they tried to foul, and the more that Darren Price and all the Greg Schaffer and all the great players kept it away from them. It became euphoric at the end. But I came to realize that when Coach put the 4 up, it really wasn't to indicate that we felt we had it in hand. I think it was probably subconsciously a message to the bus driver to warm it up because it's about 45 minutes ride. I will say over the last 2 years, with my brother undertaking this project, you know, we've had a lot of conversations, and a lot of cell phone minutes have been used over this whole thing. A lot of holidays have been spent at his computer starting to watch interviews, and then, no, like everyone else, I have not seen the film. I've seen the same 3 minutes of Hedda, and I said, just stop, I want to see it, I'm 13. But I will say that, you know, the one thing is, I work in athletics, and so I understand that not many coaches nowadays use the word we. They may use the word I, they use the word me. And money's really ruined a lot of what athletics meant in this community. But I never heard those words from Coach Schaffer. It was always we. We do it this way. We are a team. We are a community. But the one thing that always has stopped me in my tracks is if I'm in the gym or I'm around and I hear someone stomp that foot, or every once in a while, you know, we had those really hardwood bleachers at River Valley. If really, Jason Honeycutt, I think I remember that too, Gary, but I think that, you know, if you really screwed up, you didn't get the stomp down, I think it hit the bleacher first. And I caused a few of those. Coach would always say, don't be a robot. And I learned it the hard way, and I'm sorry, I probably should have bought him a pair of shoes for this occasion. I'm sure he wore it out on me, but Coach, I really appreciate it. And, you know, I've had a lot of unique experiences in life, but to say that I'm part of this group, because, you know, you may be associated with the class of 98, the class of 93, and certainly the names Woolley, Olson, Green, Graziano, Benjamin, and Benke, they're together forever. But it's a part of a larger group, and to say that we're all part of this together means the most to me. So thank you, Coach and Mr. Schaffer.
Thank you, man. You know, I think they had to replace one of those boards one year. And Fred Nutella, you were part of that too. Coach Schaffer was his father's coach and also his coach. He excelled in 3 sports in River Valley and gave 110% all the time. He was a model student then and a model citizen now. Please welcome my good friend, Bill Corbel.
Wow, that seems to be a common way to start the speeches tonight. Welcome to everyone. It's great to look out and see everyone here tonight. It's a great turnout. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be able to say a few words on this festive occasion. And Mark, thank you for the opportunity, and thanks to you and your team for making this film and this dinner tonight. It really is, it's great. I think everyone here knows me. However, just in case, let me officially introduce myself. My name is Bill Corbel. If there are any reporters in the room, that's K-O-R-B-E-L. I clarify this only because during my playing days in River Valley, most people knew my name was Bill, or more likely Billy. However, there seemed to be some confusion with my last name, at least with my teammates on the court, because they were constantly yelling during the game, "Bill, I'm open! Bill, I'm open!" I said, "My name's Corbel, it's not I'm open." It didn't seem to help. They still would constantly yell, "I'm open." Needless to say, I didn't give her many shots. My basketball experience at River Valley under Coach Schaffer took place in 2 seasons, 1986, 87, 87, 88. However, my time spent with Coach is much longer than that. This is because Coach Schaffer is not just Coach Schaffer. He's also my uncle, Uncle Jerry, which is what I've called him my entire life. It's also, I guess, what I assume maybe Mark asked me to say a few words, a unique perspective, if you will. Now, what Mark probably didn't know is that the relation, you may know this, but the relation of Uncle Jerry comes through his wife, my Aunt Peggy. Aunt Peggy and my mom Nancy are sisters. And anyone who knows my mom and Aunt Peggy and asks someone from that side of the family to say a few words is going to be really a great deal of difficulty. It's really not possible for us to say just a few words. So, if you need to use the restroom or might get a drink, that might be a good time. But I did promise Mark I would keep this short, and he said I had to keep it to 1 page, and so, believe it or not, I was able to do that. Let me just get my notes out. In all seriousness, I'm going to be saying, it's going to probably sound a little bit like a broken record up here, but, I made the comment a few minutes ago that I thought maybe I had a unique perspective to be able to say that, Coach Schaffer is not just my coach, but he's also my uncle. But then I kind of got to thinking, and the fact is it's not unique, and it's actually why we're all here tonight. You see, if Coach Schaffer was just a coach, we probably wouldn't be here tonight to celebrate. Quite possibly there wouldn't really be anything to celebrate. You'd just be another coach, another high school basketball team. There's thousands of those throughout the country. So no, I'm really not unique. I'm just like everyone else in this room, because to everyone in this room, Coach Schaffer was and is more than just a coach. As it's been said, he's a husband, a father, a grandfather, an uncle, a mentor, a role model, a trusted advisor. He's definitely a great coach, but he's most importantly a great person, and he's a great friend to everybody here. And the gift he gave to us, made us all better than what we probably should have been. Better players, ultimately better people. And if you're constantly striving to make the people around you better, maybe by sacrificing your own personal motives for the better of your team, or the better of your family, your business, your school, your community, good things will happen, right? And guess what? Good things did happen during Jerry Schaffer's era at River Valley. And I say the proof of this is not necessarily in the trophies and the banners that decorate the walls of River Valley High School. The proof is in everyone that's sitting here in this room, and all the people who wanted to be here tonight but couldn't make it for one reason or another, and for the amazing crowd that I know is going to be at tomorrow night's premiere. The proof and the magic the Mustang magic is in all of us that were influenced by Uncle Jerry, by Dad, by Papa, by Coach Schaffer, and most important, by our friend. Thanks, Uncle Jerry. Okay, before I sit down, kind of wanted, I got a little deeper than I wanted to, so I wanted to lighten the mood a little bit, and I want to do a toast, if we will. But this toast, it's not really a toast, I guess. It's more of an audience participation, if you will. But before we do this audience participation, and I'm like one more time here, because I was hoping, I was going to bring a little 503, but I forgot my guitar, if anybody's ever seen that before. Before I go into our toast or audience participation, I got to give a little background story that I think will lead into it nicely. So, if you can imagine, it's, I guess it's probably 1982, 83, somewhere there. My cousin Doug and I are probably 12, 13 years old. You can imagine a pretty good time to be an RV Mustang fan. Shortly after the 79 state championship, 81, it was just a great time. And we were all so excited about River Valley basketball. And I don't know how many of you, well, I think everybody here knows my cousin Doug. And I can tell you, the man has an enormous amount of qualities, but one of them that he doesn't have is his musical talents. I can tell you though, he personally, for his love of River Valley basketball, joined the band so he could learn to play the cornet/trumpet to learn to play Let's Go Blue. That was it. He joined the band, learned to play Let's Go Blue, and he quit. And then, the great thing about it was every time on our bus rides home, on a Friday night, on the Chickamauga bus ride, old Doug would pull out that cornet and just start piping it out. So, in honor of that time, if you can join me, let's see if I can get this right. When you talk about dedication to RV basketball, we're going to do one rendition of Let's Go Blue, and I need you guys to help me. Let's go blue! Let's go blue! Let's go blue! One more time! Let's go blue!
Thank you, Bill. And once again, Brother Garrett with a couple of writings to share with us.
Another prop.
Dave Pongelli is a graduate of River Valley. At age 18, he was elected to the River Valley School Board, becoming one of the youngest school board members ever elected in the country. He is Vice President of Micor Industries, a producer of parts and tools for the manufacturing industry, located in Decatur, Alabama. These words are from David. My climb to being Vice President of Micor Industries was helped by Coach's influence. I would have never dreamed to be in a position I am today. I use the discipline learned from him and team principles every day to manage my 75+ employees. Sometimes the most vivid memories are ones of failures. Our loss to Lakeshore on the road is etched in my memory. After the game, Coach came into the locker room and yelled, "Team!" Not much to be said after that, and I remember the long bus ride home. It was a great season and many good memories of teammates and lessons learned from Coach. That I will never forget and am extremely grateful. Please tell Coach how much I appreciate him and that I think of him a lot in my struggles and decisions in my personal life and in my professional life at Micor. That's from Dave Pongelli, RV Class of '94. Sinner Josva is a graduate of River Valley, 1990. She and her husband live in Ludington, and she is a 5th grade teacher in the Manistee School District. This is from Connie. Qualities of the best coaches: extreme dedication, determination, time commitment, love for the game, and compassion toward others. That's Coach Schaffer. Even though Coach Schaffer was not my direct coach on the court, I attended his clinics and those of son Greg. In fact, it was Greg who helped me develop my shot. He worked with me one summer and gave time that he probably didn't have before heading back to college. Greg, I don't know if you realize how much I appreciated your help. And Coach Schaffer, even through your son, you inspired me. Another time Coach Schaffer's coaching techniques came my way was at Southwestern Michigan College. The SMC girls basketball team needed to recruit extra players to get through the rest of their season. I remember walking through the gym, heading to my volleyball training session, when the girls basketball coach approached 3 of us and asked if we would play for her team to help us finish out the season. We were baffled because we were recruited to play volleyball, not basketball. But someone had told the coach that we had played high school basketball. One of Coach Schaffer's former players happened to be in the gym at the time. He overheard the conversation and convinced me to play. He said, "Opportunities like this don't come often." That person was David Hahn. That day we started practice to prepare for the following night's game. We had a crash course to learn the plays. David saw that I was struggling. He came out onto the court and said to me, "Don't you recognize this play? It's one of the plays that Coach Schaffer taught us." David, thank you for encouraging me and for taking me under your wing. And Coach, through your former player, you impacted me. Coach Schaffer was also my teacher and driving instructor. As a teacher, if you didn't understand something or needed clarification, he would kindly go over it again. As my driving instructor, I remember the first day of driving. I kept wondering, when is Coach Schaffer going to let me drive? As the morning turned into the afternoon, finally, Coach let me drive. He told me that he was aware that I knew how to drive, having seen me behind the wheel over the years. What is great about Coach and Mrs. Schaffer? It is their kindness and compassion for others. They always take the time to stop and talk to people. While teaching my 5th grade students in Manistee, I was surprised when I received a phone call to come to the office. Lo and behold, there stood Coach and Mrs. Schaffer. Since then, I look forward to their yearly visits. A great coach's impact does not end with the final buzzer of the last game. The great coaches, like Mr. Schaffer, continue to impact their players and others in all aspects of life. Coach Schaffer, there is still a lot of time left on your game clock, and a lot of players that can and do benefit from a great coach like you. Those words from Connie Sinner.
Thank you, Gary. Our next speaker graduated from River Valley in 1991 and coached the boys' freshman basketball team in the mid-90s. A crowd favorite when he was a player, he has and always will be a big supporter of River Valley sports. Please welcome Scotty Masters.
This is not for the vertically challenged, I can already tell this. Please don't scream from the back of the room. I am standing up. I didn't have those jokes. I guess I'm going to start this kind of like everybody else started it. And, you know, wow is probably one of the words that comes to mind. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here. It's very nice that we can gather and celebrate something that's been such a special and positive impact in our lives, like Mustang basketball, and of course, Coach Schaffer. I was a little bit different. No pun intended, seriously. I was a little bit different. I didn't get to River Valley until my 8th grade year. I transferred in from a different school. My parents decided that the school system that my sisters and I attended probably wasn't going to get us the education that we needed. So, as Thanksgiving approached, we decided we were going to move to River Valley. So I left my school before Thanksgiving, and after Thanksgiving, I'm walking the halls at River Valley. First couple days there was pretty scary. Didn't have any friends, didn't know anybody. And one friend, and it's still a dear friend to this day, was one of the first people that ever talked to me in the halls, and that was Troy Gillen. Troy was a longtime manager for Coach Schaffer. We were kindred spirits. We had some things in common. We both played drums, although he played them a hell of a lot better than I did. And we both loved basketball. Troy was not able to play basketball. He had a medical condition that did not allow him to play. But he was a manager, and he loved Mustang basketball, just like the rest of us did. He was the first one to tell me about the basketball team. He said, I know you're looking to find some friends, I know you're looking to fit in. You need to come to some of the basketball games this year when the season starts. So, as I didn't have any friends, I thought, okay, I'll do this. So, first couple games, they're there, I go. But I make the mistake of not going early enough. So, my one or two friends that I did have are all entrenched in the student section, and there's nowhere for me to sit. So I make the long trek up the stairs all the way to the top of the gym, and having little legs, it's not very easy to make steps up to the top of the gym. But nonetheless, I get there. So I decide, hey, if I really want to do this, and I really want to be part of this, because the student section, as all of you remember, was incredible. We had some of the loudest student sections that I've ever heard. I decided I need to go early. So my mother comes home from work, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and it's about 3:30. She says, what do you do? And I said, I'm doing my homework. She said, huh? And I said, I'm doing my homework. She's like, why are you doing your homework so early? Usually I gotta yell at you to do your homework. I said, well, I have a basketball game tonight, and I'm gonna get my seat. And I said, if I don't go early, I can't get my seat. So I started going early, I get my seat, I get great friends, and it's some of the best experiences that I've had in my life. Now, I talk about my parents a little bit, and I'll tell you how they caught on to this as well. I would come home, and I would talk about it constantly. Talk about Dave, talk about Steve, talk about Darren, talk about Billy, talk about Jason, talk about Doug, talk about Coach Schaffer. Tell my mom every time he threw those 4 fingers in the air, that means we're going to win. Every time he put them up, we're winning. So, I told you this to kind of tell you this. My parents were married for quite a long time at that point, and my dad got meat and potatoes for every dinner. Every dinner, we always had big dinners, it was meat and potatoes. Well, I got mom hooked on River Valley basketball. So, when game nights rolled around, Dad knew he had to eat a big lunch, because he wasn't getting meat and potatoes for dinner. He was lucky if he got a hot dog, or if he got a ham sandwich. But he didn't get his meat and potatoes on those days. Then I got a chance to play. I was an RV basketball player. I played my sophomore and my junior year, and then I had a chance in my senior year to try out for the team. And Coach Schaffer brought me in after one of those lovely 6 o'clock in the morning practices, and he said, Scotty, you're not going to be in our core playing group, but I want you to be on the team. You made the team. You got to work hard, but you made the team. So finally, I was like, here I am. I'm a Mustang basketball player, and that's something that no matter what happens in my life, nobody can ever take that away from me. I am a Mustang basketball player, and I'm always going to be a Mustang basketball player. And that's one of the greatest memories I have. His coach treated the last guy on the bench as if he was as important as the star point guard, the center. I mean, he treated everybody equally. You know, yeah, Jason Honeycutt, he got the foot stomp, you know, but I got the experience in a very close 31-27 victory in the semifinals of districts. We were playing Brandywine, and Kenny Drake stepped out of bounds right in front of me. I'm a little boisterous, as some of you might know, so I let the referee know. Kenny stepped out of bounds, and they didn't call it. At the next break, the referee walked up to Coach and said, "If you don't get him to sit down and be quiet, I'm going to give you a technical." I then got the slow walk down. And he looked at me and he said, "If you get off that bench one more time and give me a technical, I'm going to staple you behind that bench." I said, "Okay." Guess I got to be quiet. Needless to say, I won that game, went out to the district championship. You know, Coach could have just said, "Hey, you know, Scotty, you know, you're not going to play. Maybe an underclassman could have came in and got some time and maybe learned some things." But he didn't. He let me be part of Mustang basketball. And I am so blessed to have been a part, not only to play, but I got to coach 1 year alongside Coach, and that was some of the best memories I have, other than my children being born, are spending some quality time with Coach Schaffer. And I thank him for all that he's done. His patience kind of helps me in my job today. I kind of look back at that because as he was the driver's ed instructor, which I still don't know how you do because I'm taking kids out on drive tests now, and I think every day, how in the world did you do that for so many years? Because, man, it takes a minute off my life every time I go out with those kids. So, I'm just going to kind of wrap this up and say I'm very humbled to be here tonight to share some of the memories with all of you. Thank you for listening to me ramble on a little bit. Mark, thank you so much for making this film. There were so many things that needed to be told, and I'm sure we're going to have a wonderful day tomorrow. Ma Schaffer, thank you. You are the River Valley basketball's biggest fan. Everybody knows it, and you are very special to all of us that play for you. And Coach, thank you again. You're the most honest, caring, genuine man I know who happens to be a basketball genius. And you are and always will be Mustang basketball. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Our next speaker graduated from River Valley. He sank 2 free throws in the 1987 district finals to top Marion Springs. He looks like he could do it again. Looking at him today, I'm sure he could. Played 2 years of varsity for Coach Jared Schaffer. Please welcome Eric Reardon.
I think the first thing I'd like to do is to really thank Mark, Becky, and his team for putting on this function tonight and for making a movie. I don't think any of us really understand how difficult and how hard that is. So let's give Mark and his team a nice round of applause. Now, Mark sent out a general email asking for some volunteers tonight to speak. And after I read it, I said to myself, there is no way that I'm going to get up in front of my peers and talk, because I'd be too nervous, which I am. But the more I thought about it, I felt compelled to come up here to recognize and thank people. Of course, we're here tonight to thank Coach Schaffer. He has had a positive influence and impact on all of us that lasts to this day. Not only for all of us here, but RV and the town of Three Oaks. So thank you, Coach. But the more I thought about it, there were some other people that need to be recognized as well. Now, when I was a little guy, I went to all of the RV games, like most everyone here did. And In 1979, we won a state championship, and in the following years, we had some great teams. In fact, I still remember all of those players. Guys like Fred Lamb, and Bobby Lewis, and Andrew Montgomery, and Greg Schaffer, Dave Duduck, and all of the list goes on and on. And at the end of the day, you guys influenced us. And you guys need to be recognized for that. When I was growing up, you guys were the rock stars. We wanted to be like you. Now, there's one guy who influenced me who didn't even know it. In fact, I never met him before. His name was Scott Conkey. I remember going up to my mom one day, and I said, "Mom, I'm going to get my hair like Scott Conkey." And for those of you who don't know, Scott had this big perm, and I wanted it really bad. So I asked my mom, and she looked at me, and she goes, "That's never going to happen." And to this day, to this very day, I'm so glad she did say no. Because I would have been teased every day for the rest of my life. So thanks, Mom. Now, that's probably not the best example of how someone can influence someone else. But I think you guys get the point. And I know that if you ask any guys on these teams, they can tell you the same stories. Going to the games, watching the guys play, watching Coach Schaffer coach. That meant a lot to us. Now, it's also interesting for me to talk and hear the guys from the teams that came afterwards. I was watching a clip of a movie, and Casey Cade was talking about how when he was that little guy, coming to the games and getting his shirt signed on the team. And I thought that was really cool. And I like to think that by him coming to the games, we've had an impact on him. Just like how you guys had an impact on us. So in summary, I want to thank all of you guys for not only influencing me, but influencing all of these other guys. And of course, I want to thank Coach Schaffer for, I guess, being that source. Because he taught us how to do the right things on and off the court. Play hard. Never give up. Play as a team. And probably the most important, play defense. You had to play defense for RV, because if you didn't, you weren't going to play much. So again, thanks to all of you guys for impacting all of us, and thanks to Coach for really enabling us to influence each other, for having an impact on each other, which lasts to this day, and that extends to our families and our communities and our kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. G, it's trip number 3. Sharing 2 more write-ins. Right here.
My final crop. This is 1967. I think Rex Miller wore this one. I tried to stay to the script. Story on how I got this. I'm working in Three Oaks. These ended up in the wrestling program, by the way, in the 70s and 80s. Yep. And one of the moms that I had in Three Oaks walked down the hallway and she had that on. And I remember she was manager for the wrestling team. $20 later, it was mine. And I have it here for you to enjoy tonight. Mike Aaron is a 1986 graduate of River Valley. He lives in Owensboro, Kentucky, and is employed by the Riverside Transport Trucking Company. These are Mike Aaron's words. Coach Jerry Schaffer, along with Coach Jerry Hinman, and my father, were really the people I learned from in terms of leadership, commitment, and loyalty to team. This is where I learned to never give up in anything and always give 110%. I felt a common theme on the Mustang teams was that win or lose, they would leave it all out on the floor to the end. As a Marine officer, I often reflected on experiences with Coach Schaffer for emotional or physical strength in difficult times. I am forever grateful for those experiences and life lessons. A couple of phrases I won't forget from Coach were something like, "Mike, I know he's bigger than you, but don't let him push you around. Get tough." Another, "Box out." And of course, and it was alluded to earlier, "Run it again, run it again, run it again." Thanks, Coach Schaffer. That's for Mike Aaron, class of '86. Mike White loved basketball. For several summers, he dribbled the ball wherever he went. He played whenever he could, and he did his best to emulate his idol, Pistol Pete Maravich. Floppy socks, trick passes, and probably the first Mustang to dribble behind his back. Mike has always put himself 110% into whatever he does. He graduated from River Valley, was a cadet at West Point, then entered the seminary to become a priest, then got into education where he earned his doctorate. He is now CEO and president of Well Street, a company that promotes healthy lifestyles in the workplace and schools. He lives in Chicago. This is a letter from Mike to Coach Schaffer. Coach, I wish I could be present for this most well-deserved tribute. George Bernard Shaw shared that youth is wasted on the young. I am sure that I am not the only former Mustang who wishes that I could play for you all over again, without the distraction of a developing brain, immature emotions, and raging hormones. Life has confirmed that there are fundamental things that, when learned, practiced, and perfected with discipline, allow you to succeed. You taught and demanded that from us before we could ever begin to appreciate its lasting benefits. Your influence has spanned generations. The White family knows that very well. As a third grader sitting on the end of the Three Oaks Oakers bench in 1966, I watched my dad's Oakers lose to the Jerry Schaffer-led New Troy Trojans. I was in the crowd in 1967 when River Valley, in its first season, won a Class B district crown. I was on the court in 1974 and 1975 when we won the school's second and third district championships. A son of mine was on your 1997 team that advanced to the state finals. Come to think about it, and I thought about it in this paragraph. Come to think about it, it was only Brother Joe that did not contribute to Arby's trophy case. However, Joe still claims that he paved the way for the success of the 1979 state champs. A Hall of Fame career with so many remarkable accomplishments will be forever memorialized in Mark's film. But your lasting legacy will not be the wins you achieved on the court as much as it will be for the winners that you created off the court. There is no term more endearing than coach. It's a player's thank you to someone they honor and respect. Almost 40 years after missing my last jump shot, you're still coach. Thank you. And those words are from Mike White, class of 1975.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you, Jason, Dave, Connie, Mike, and Mike White for your wonderful tributes. Our next guest was a member of Coach Schaffer's 1989 team. In 1990 team, he resides in Chicago. Would you welcome Brett Williams?
While we wait for that, thank you so much. I will be brief because I really don't know if I have anything new to share that hasn't already been shared. But I will say, it's kind of ironic on a lighter note, I feel really comfortable in my rightful place there at the end of the bench. It's nice. I was nervous about 90 minutes ago. But it was fine. Earlier we recognized Mark, but I also want to, in the same way we talk about Petty supporting Jerry for all the years and the sacrifices and the commitment, just for the course of this project, Mark, thank you again for bringing this all together. And Ingrid, we're very glad you're still here and still around. Appreciate those sacrifices as well. So tonight, you've heard from, and tomorrow night you're going to hear from even more very talented players with excellent game time memories and glory stories of their playing days. I'm not one of them. I came on the heels of the 87-88 team. I was thrilled to be part of the program. I do have a lot of wonderful memories. Some of the other memories, I include getting dirty looks. I think I didn't get a shot off in time at the end of the quarter in Dewajak, and I think I was probably beat by a kid from Cassopolis driving baseline with his offhand. And both of those, I think, resulted with the horn sounding and me probably getting a seat somewhere along here. No, but seriously, I have many great memories, a lot of great games, on teams that beat Lakeshore 4 times, which always means something. So, but I wanted to throw that comment in there so that John Avery didn't think he was the only one that got dirty looks. That was for Steve. So, Coach, not everyone gets an opportunity to share memories and remarks from people who influenced them, as many have said tonight, and let alone get a whole movie and a whole weekend dedicated to their commitment and their profession. I'm pretty sure very few of us even have that chance at the end of our careers. But this weekend is really a testament to the many lessons and the memories that have stuck with myself and others throughout our lives in our non-basketball careers. My remarks tonight, though brief, kind of came together ironically the last couple of weeks. I had a lot of thoughts, a lot of memories. My basketball memories span from the 70s and 80s up until my time, seeing some of the film of the great teams of the 90s. But it really came together into a message when I was spending time with my family. And of course then I had three young kids, and so I'm always trying to scramble around for a post-it note to write it down so I can bring this all together. But that wasn't ironic, because when you played on Coach Schaffer's team, and I told Mark this early, you weren't on a team, you were in a program. And you weren't just in a program, you were part of a family. You were adjunct to the Schaffer family. Their doors were always open. The feedback was always honest, and obviously you were well taken care of. And because of that, we're in a lifelong brotherhood and family, and can gather like this. And we can have fun arguments over the best teams, whether it was 79 or 74 or 81, it can go on and on. But thank goodness we can have those debates. As Billy and others were saying, there are a lot of schools where they just had other coaches, they just played regular sports and had other games, and and sporadic memories. So we're actually very lucky. The one thing I'll mention, Coach, on the lighter side, you know, as a father of 3 young kids, and all parents better fess up to this too, any minute or hour you can get outside of the house without the kids is really special. My wife and I fight over that all the time. But Coach, you had 4 boys. I had 2 boys, 1 girl. You had 4 boys, and I'm sure there was a time when they were young, and I'm sure there were times when you got out of the house, but by all accounts, when you left the house, you went and spent it with other kids and teaching them basketball, and in many cases, you were spending it with teenage boys, getting them to listen and buy into your way of thinking, which is truly amazing to me as I see my little ones grow up. So kudos to you. I mean, you took a job that nobody wanted in a recently formed school district that brought together 5 very different communities, and you spun it into pure gold. And you know, in the business world, it's considered in investing and buying low and really selling high. Because you got in on the ground floor of an opportunity, you turned it into something, and the community is much, much better for the sacrifices and the commitments that you made. So we thank you. Tomorrow night we're going to see a movie. It's called When Every Friday Night Mattered. But I think you all agree that, Coach, through your efforts, you made every Tuesday night matter during the winter. You made those Saturday games against Bridgman matter. You made a couple of weeks in the hot Kentucky sun matter during the summer. You made those 6 a.m. practices in a cold gym matter. But most importantly, you made 3 weeks in March matter most. That was the standard, and that was the bar that was set for all of your teams. So along the way, we also had the pleasure of meeting some interesting individuals that were in your life that you shared with us that made it very exciting for young kids from small towns in Michigan. You introduced us to folks like Bob Zuffalato, NBA coach, NFL quarterback Brad Johnson to basketball camp, Haywood Workman, longtime NBA player and NBA referee. I mean, through your relationships and through the basketball camps, that was just my era. I can't imagine over the span of your career how many interesting individuals and noted, accomplished individuals that you came across. And all that is very exciting to folks like myself growing up in a small town. So we thank you for that as well. And in closing, there were just 3 simple lessons that I always take with me. And I know others have touched on it as well. The first one is, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I heard that quote a couple years ago. It's not really attributed to any one person, but the minute I heard it, it resonated with how you do things. Your most talented teams, you rode the hardest. You made sure that they gave their all and they didn't get complacent. And in the years where you didn't have as much talent to work with, you made sure that they understood that they could win on any given night. And if they put in the hard work, they were going to beat the more talented teams. And there's no doubt that there are trophies out of the high school, probably gathering dust, that on paper were probably destined for teams that were bigger, faster, and stronger, until they were out-coached and out-hustled by River Valley. And that's directly attributable to the commitment that you made and the pressure that you put on us to perform and to work hard. So thank you for that. Secondly, there are no substitutes for hard work and organization. Your practices were organized to the minute. I think Hinman's practices were organized to the second. Just about if I recall. And it drove us crazy as teenagers, but I think you didn't teach us anything earth-shattering, but the simple lessons you taught us, I think you taught in a manner that can only be done with teenage boys. And that was to organize our time, give us very little time to ourselves to even think, or to even think about rebelling, or coming up with a different way to do things. And so, again, another lesson that you really don't appreciate until you're in your 30s or your 40s and you're working and have children. So thank you. Finally, respect your opponent. That's been mentioned before. I won't dwell on that, but I will relate one story. It was a summer game, and I think the whole team was to meet at the gym for the game, so we didn't go over there to Buchanan or something. And it was just a weekend tournament. And we walk in, and of course, nobody goes to those summer games. And at the time in the stands, I see from a distance here in the middle of the stands, you're sitting next to Jim Sanford from Lakeshore. And at that time, this was 89, 90, that was an odd sight. Being very cordial, and you both had just a very short conversation. And of course, later on we learned, and at your retirement party you had wonderful things to say. But you always taught us to respect your opponent. And in that case, perhaps you were living more the axiom of keeping your friends close and your enemies closer. I don't know. But nonetheless, it was refreshing to see you two. We had great rivalry with them. And again, it's because of the competitive nature that you instilled in us. So that's all I have. I would say that I think I speak on behalf of all of your alums that we can only hope that when we get to the end of our careers that we have half of the accomplishments and we enjoy half of the relationships that you have come to cultivate in the course of your career. So we thank you, we love you very much, and we wish you nothing but the best as you continue to enjoy the wealth that you have accumulated in your career. So, thank you.
Thank you, Brett. In closing, I just want to get this off my chest. Back in 1981, the 5th game of the season, I was bringing the ball up the court, which I was allowed to do, and a little guard from Niles came right up from behind me, picked my pocket, stole the ball, cleaned away, took it down to the other end, laid it up for a basket. Turnover on me, 2 points from Niles, timeout. Coach Schaffer called the timeout. And I remember like it was yesterday. I got over to the bench, and he gets right in front of me, and he's staring right into my eyes. There's nothing else going on. He said, "You never let that happen." And he's pointing at me. "You're a better player than that." That was it. Well, Coach, in the last 32 years since that night, I played in 26 additional high school games, 70 games in college, and approximately 2,000 men's league and pickup games since then. And I can honestly say that it hasn't happened since. And do you know why? Because I listened to you and I believed what you said. And we all listened to you. We trusted you. You led by example, not only in practices in basketball, but in life. To be a humble winner and not a sore loser. To respect your opponent and never lower yourself by yelling at a referee or acting in a way that poorly represents what we were all about. You helped shape all of us to succeed after basketball and help make us better, help make us become better parents and better adults. You've touched all of us in that very special way. And that's why we're here. Great seeing you, Coach Schaffer. I've had a ball tonight. I hope you enjoyed the celebration. And Mrs. Schaffer, thanks for staying right there. Hey, one last thing before I go. Johnny Walnick and I have a 1-hour sports radio program called From the Press Box that we do on Sundays at noon, Michigan time, on 106.7 FM WRHC here in Three Oaks. You can listen worldwide at www.radioharborcountry.org or use the TuneIn app on your smartphone. As a matter of fact, let's see. I know some of you have listened to the show. If you have listened to our show, don't raise your hands. Wow. Oh, that's great. That's more than I expected. We'll keep listening, okay? Folks, tomorrow is the premiere, the debut of Mustang Magic at the Mendel Center at Lake Michigan College. I can hardly wait. Here once again is Mark Bacon.
This should be the end of the program, but ironically it's not. We have a special announcement for Mr. J.C. German, the River Valley Board of Education President, so if he could come up at this time.
What an evening. What a weekend. It's been a while since I've had this much excitement concerning the River Valley Mustangs. Just a couple of quick notes. Mark, to you and your family, your team, thank you so much. To Coach Schaffer and your family, thank you for your loyalty, your dedication, everything you've done. You've touched so many people. It's very obvious also tonight. I am in the Board of Education a firm believer that if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going. I encourage all of you, especially those of you that have been out of town, to take the opportunity to visit our campuses, our 3 campuses. We've done some really great things. The new athletic complexes have bathrooms and bleachers at the baseball, softball fields. Our varsity track team will be able to host home meets for the first time in 6 years with a new track. I think we have $2 million worth of renovations that will begin the day school that's out this year. All 3 of our campuses. But most importantly, the legacy that you created needs to be shared with everyone now and in the future. And those that enter the gymnasium for Valley High School from this night forward will know that they're in Jerry Schaffer Gymnasium.
A coach is only as good as his players, and I was very fortunate to be the beneficiary all those years. And it was very interesting to hear each of these people speak, and I think it was Eric who maybe said it best when he mentioned that each of the players, as they come through the system, their heroes and their mentors were the players who were above them, who were on the varsity at that time. And it became a chain reaction where these young people who saw their heroes on Tuesday and Friday nights, it was their desire to someday wear that navy and white and represent River Valley. And it kind of certainly snowballed from there. I have to thank many, besides the players who were the main, obviously, what made the whole operation run. Besides that, I need to mention I had many coaches, starting with the clinics for the 3rd, 4th, 5th graders, the junior high programs, the freshmen, the JV. I can't even count the number of coaches that I had. But there are 2 I'm going to mention tonight because they were with me the longest and they were with me from the beginning. My JV coach of many years, Fred Mattel. And the other one will be no surprise to you, because he certainly was at almost every one of my practices, and he put my varsity players through the ringer many times. My good friend and coach that sat at my side for many, many years, Jerry Hinman. Those were obviously a couple of coaches who really played a major part in our success at River Valley. River Valley was fortunate to have many other good coaches, and certainly in the other programs. Jim Feldman had an outstanding cross-country record at RV. Tom Palin had many good football teams, and there were countless other coaches in our that I don't want to not think about, but those are some of the people that I certainly thought I should bring out right here tonight. I need to thank my family. As all of you know, that coaching is a dedicated and it's a time-consuming occupation. And I'm very fortunate that my wife was with me for many, many years of my right-hand person, and then my sons who all came up and played and have been very, very supportive of me all through my life. In fact, as we're talking about support, Peggy, would you come up please? And Ingrid, would you come up please? Because Peggy, if you would give this bouquet of flowers to Ingrid for her. Peggy had put up for years and years, and Ingrid, these last 2 years, what you've had to do to support Mark in this endeavor is unquestionably very, very appreciated by all of us. So, Ingrid, thank you very much. We've gone certainly long enough. We've enjoyed every one of the speakers. It brought back great memories.